This video is going to deal with the use of commentaries in preparing sermons.
First, let me introduce you to some of the commentaries that I would typically use. This is what's called an exegetical commentary. This is actually the International Critical Commentary series. The International Critical Commentary, if you look at it, and we'll look at it in more detail later, has Greek and Hebrew in it. It deals mainly with exegetical issues, and as you can see, it's pretty thick and pretty heavy reading. This is a devotional commentary. This one happens to be from the Moody Press series, and it's quite old. It's the 1st and 2nd Peter. This is the sort of thing one might use in a Sunday school class or with a small home group Bible study as a study guide for lay people. This is Martin Luther's commentary on the book of Galatians, and it is a theological commentary. It's theological because primarily it deals with issues of theology that Martin Luther wanted to deal with. It's considered a classic. It's good reading, but it's, again, heavy reading.
Those three kinds of commentaries were the exegetical commentary, which focuses upon the meaning of words, mostly in Greek and Hebrew, theological commentary, which focuses upon the theological meaning of the text, and devotional commentaries, which are mainly for laymen and focus on what we can get out of the text for our spiritual lives today. Exegetical commentaries are the backbones of the pastor's library. They're the ones we use for our heavy exegesis, for our heavy study of the text. They deal with Greek and Hebrew texts mainly. They focus on exegetical problems, the problems of grammar and interpretation and meanings of particular words. They do not attempt to apply the scriptures to today. Their focus is upon interpreting the scriptures and what they originally meant. They are not for lay people primarily, but are for serious scholars. And they usually assume that you have some knowledge of Greek and Hebrew. This is the International Critical Commentary that I showed you earlier. As you can see, it is a lot of books. Almost every book in the Bible is covered by the International Critical Commentary. And it takes up an awful lot of shelf space if you have the whole set. Here's a page from the inside of one of the International Critical Commentaries. If you look at this passage, you'll see that it contains Greek and Hebrew. It contains a lot of discussion of exegetical questions that maybe do not pertain to every reader. But as a scholar, you need to be struggling with issues such as manuscripts and translations of the Greek or Hebrew so you can get it accurately. That's what a critical commentary does for you, is help you in your study of Greek and Hebrew. Theological commentaries deal with theological issues that are in the text, rely upon solid exegesis to prove its points, and are primarily for theologians and scholars. This is the International Theological Commentary series. As you can see, there's a lot of volumes to this one as well. These struggle with big theological themes in the Bible as they're found in the individual verses. Here's a page from a theological commentary. You notice the footnotes at the bottom. There's a lot of footnotes at the bottom. But you will notice as you read it, it deals more with historical and theological issues than it does with exegetical or grammar issues. So it's going to be useful, but useful in a somewhat different way. Useful in your interpretation of the scriptures and not just your study. Scholars, whereas devotional commentaries deal with the application of the text today, are usually written by pastors, not scholars, and are primarily for lay persons, and are full of illustrations and catchy sayings. These are three examples of devotional commentaries. Here's one on Exodus, here's one on Psalms, here's one on Proverbs. you notice that the covers are a whole lot more colorful than the other kinds of commentaries. That's because they're written for laymen, and they're attempting to attract the attention of lay readers and lay buyers in the bookstore. Now here's a page from the inside of a devotional commentary. As you can see, it's got some illustrations. It's got a phrase that's cut out right in the middle. It has a small verse of scripture. The whole thing is intended to show you how to live your life and give you devotional blessings. With this is good, but what this tells us is it's not a scholarly commentary. It was not written for people who are preparing sermons. This was written to be a sermon, probably by a preacher. Now, there's nothing wrong with a commentary like this, particularly if you're a layperson. But when you're preparing sermons, you need something better and deeper than this. Let me give you 4 rules to use in your use of commentaries in preparing sermons. First of all, use them last. Do not try to substitute a commentary for your own study of the Scriptures. The purpose for a commentary is to confirm what you have already studied from the Scriptures, or to get some advice from wiser and smarter people than yourself. But do not substitute it for the basic Bible study, the basic translation work, the basic studying of various translations, and looking up information for yourself. Second, use them in bunches. I don't care how big of a fan you are of a particular commentary. In some place, every commentary gets it wrong. So you want a second or a third opinion, and not just accept what the first commentary says. You should have already done your study and your exegesis and have a pretty good idea of what the passage means. But nevertheless, if you're going to get one opinion, get 2 or 3. So have several commentaries handy. Second, don't eat junk food. I mentioned about the exegetical and theological commentaries as well as the devotional commentaries to make this point. You want to give the best commentaries you can. Don't rely simply upon devotional commentaries that make you feel good. Go into the ones where the real scholarship has been done. And another thing about that is make sure that when you do it, you know the slant and credentials of the commentary. When you're trying to find the slant of commentary, your first stop is here, at the title page. Most people, when they first pick up a commentary, skip right over the title page. But it's very important that you know who your authors are and who your publishers are. Now, in this particular case, here is a commentary, an exegetical commentary, a very old one, that was published by a company called T&T Clark from Edinburgh. Well, one thing we know about T&T Clark, if you just do a simple internet search on the name, is that they came out of Scotland and were affiliated with the Church of Scotland. When you look at the name of the 2 authors, the Right Reverend Archibald Robertson indicates that this man is most likely an Anglican bishop with the Reverend Alfred Plummer. So we know that the slant of this commentary is going to favor old traditional church approaches. So you need to know that when you're going in. That doesn't mean you can't use the commentary if you don't agree with the Church of England, but what it means is at least you know where it's coming from and gives you a reference to know what to keep and what to throw away from what it says. And finally, don't swallow anything whole. Don't believe everything you see in a commentary. And just because you disagree with a commentary, especially if you're dealing with an exegetical commentary, just because you disagree with the author doesn't mean he's wrong about everything. Learn what my friend used to call the fried chicken method of taking teaching. Learn to eat the meat and throw away the bone. Don't just assume that because somebody you disagree on one issue that you're going to disagree on all. Commentaries are useful things, but know the kind of commentary you're using and know their slant before you quote them. So let's be careful out there and write good sermons.